Julian, so if the Liberal Party are going to make changes heading into the next election, are you going to have to make more to the ones you've already made?
Well, we're focused on getting Labor's tax cuts through the Parliament, delivering a tax cut to every Australian taxpayer. That's all 13.6 million, not just a select few. It's a simple proposition, and it is time for the Liberal Party to decide, are they going to vote for this or are they not? We've had over the last 2 weeks an utterly incoherent, incomprehensible, nonsensical response. Now, I didn't want to misquote people. I've got a piece of paper here. We had the Shadow Treasurer saying, of course we're going to try and stop it. A move away from the Stage 3 tax cuts would not be something we can support. It was Marxism, yet by the afternoon he said he might vote for them. We had Susan Ley, the Deputy Leader, saying we'll fight this legislation in both Houses of Parliament. That's our position. We're going to roll it back. That's our position. Matt Canavan, I don't support the government's changes. Peter Dutton actually said he was going to call an election on something that he now says he's going to vote for. I mean, you need the sort of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy Babel fish in your ear to understand what this incomprehensible nonsense is. And that is the point. Do they support greater tax cuts for low and middle income Australians, doing it tough in a cost of living crisis, or not? That's the put up or shut up. It is time to vote over the next couple of weeks. Do they support tax cuts for all Australian taxpayers or not?
Well, they said they're going to do that, but Keith, how do you attack the government now over a broken promise if you've supported it?
Well, this is the issue. You've seen here from Julian Hill. He's one of the more entertaining members of the House. I enjoy listening to his speeches. I enjoy reading his social media. He's all about the line. He's all about the politics. But Australians deserve more. I think Julian misses being in opposition. He's listed attack points on the coalition. We're the opposition. They're in government. And it was the Prime Minister who looked down the camera and said, my word is my bond. Even a week before this was announced, a week before they all flew back up to Canberra to have that party room meeting that they had where they endorsed this, the Prime Minister was acting like nothing was happening. He didn't let Australians into his trust. And that's what this is about. It's about trust. And Australians will have a point where they will decide whether they trust this Prime Minister.
Julian, promises were made, promises were broken, but are you betting folks will forget that if they've got a few extra bucks in their pocket?
Well, good government is not about sitting by when circumstances change, when people are doing it tough, wringing your hands and saying, oh, well, that's really bad. I wonder what will happen. When the right thing to do when economic circumstances change is to adjust your economic policy, and that's what the government is doing.
Adjust
the Prime Minister's been up front. He went to the National Press Club. He put his case, and I think the feedback I've had overwhelmingly from my community is that people support these changes. They're the right thing for the economic circumstances we face. Fairer tax cuts for every Australian taxpayer without adding to inflation. It's the right thing to do at the right time.
Quick one here. Workers can screen calls from their bosses after hours if Tony Burke gets his way on IR. What would happen if you did that, Julian?
Well, yes, I get calls at all hours, but I don't think we're the example. Look, it's actually a really interesting policy issue for anyone. If you think about the labour market changes, we're a more technologically connected society. And for many workers, there are just unreasonable demands. There's an expectation in some workplaces that people are available 24/7, that they're supposed to take calls, supposed to respond, supposed to be on call, and that's not part of their employment deal. Now, you know, we haven't settled on a final set of changes. There's a set of propositions being discussed in the Senate. We're talking with business, we're talking with unions, we'll talk with the crossbench. And I think it's about how you strike the balance. I think most people would accept that there should be some new regulations given the change in modern workplaces, but it's about how you strike that balance. But I think it's a genuinely interesting issue for our society to think, well, where do you draw the line, particularly for low-paid workers who are not remunerated like executives, they're not remunerated or have the expectations that come with Keith's job and my role. They're average, everyday workers that are paid to do a job for a certain number of hours. Is it reasonable to expect them to respond 24/7?
30 seconds left to respond to that, Keith. I mean, does this unfairly target the bosses?
I think it unfairly targets the economy. The last thing the economy needs right now and small and medium businesses need is extra cost, extra complexity. So when this came before Senate estimates, it took 15 minutes to explain what a casual worker is. Now, if you speak to any employer or employee, they'll be able to answer that in plain English. The one problem from this government is they don't know how to speak in plain English because they've never actually run businesses and don't know how hard it is and the risk that people take in putting those together and keeping them alive.
You do know that's a silly line they use, and that we've got numerous people who've run and operated successful small and medium-sized businesses. I'll just make that point. It's a silly line that we hear, and our members run small
Julian's
businesses
all about
too.
silly lines. So.
We're out of time. Silly lines or not, we're out of time. Gentlemen, good to talk. We'll chat to you again soon.